Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. It is always fantastic to have you here joining us, and a big welcome to those of you who are listening to the show for the first time. Today we welcome back Wil Adamy for a powerful part 2 where, can you believe it, we go even deeper. We talk spirituality, the beauty and brutality of life's challenges, and how they reveal who is truly in your corner. My guest opens up about a dark chapter: identity theft, betrayal, and being taken advantage of, and how it shook his sense of self. We unpack what it means to be misunderstood, labeled crazy, and the loneliness of not being believed. From alcohol's dark pool to the raw reflections of the world and friendship, this is a vulnerable, unfiltered conversation about staying true to yourself when everything feels like it's going against you. I really enjoyed this one. I really appreciated Wil's vulnerability about this. Not an easy subject to speak about, but yeah, so many lessons from Wil's story and just his perspective on life. So I would love to hear what you guys thought about this one as well. If you could do me a quick favor, we'd really appreciate it if you could like, leave a review and subscribe. It really helps the show grow, and it means that we can get the message out to more men who are navigating their own journey. I'm Harrison, and this is the Growth Voyage podcast. Enjoy. All right, we'll get started. Wil, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome, and the reason why we put this part 2 together is because a lot has happened since part 1. In the first episode, we touched upon your life story and we shared a lot of the lessons and perspectives that you have learned along the way. However, since then, something has shifted in your reality. Tell me what has happened since we shot that last episode.
Hi, kitties. Wow. So I guess it was March, right, that we talked last, and so a big kind of shift happened around April. I was like kind of leaning into taking life in as like a lesson, and like anything. And I might have touched upon this on the first podcast, like anything that like tests you or upsets you, it's a way to look at yourself of how to react, because all we have is our reactions. You can't control situations, you can't control a lot of things, you can't control the crazy drivers in Bali, from the crazy, Eastern European motorcyclists, or the drunk Australians or New Zealanders who like to travel here, or the Gojek drivers who are just trying to deliver fast so they can make more money. Or you have a challenge to look at that and react differently. And I'm a firm believer that nothing's a coincidence, and also a firm believer that lessons are going to keep repeating in your life until you like kind of graduate. You're going to keep seeing the same things over and over again until you react or deal with it properly. And so I think I might have said this in the first podcast. I was a very angry person in New York. I would be flipping off people. I was a bike messenger and very upset, if somebody cut me off. But, like, that was my decision to not wear a helmet. I mean, I always wear a helmet in Bali. It's crazy here. But as a cyclist, I wouldn't wear a helmet. So my life was in jeopardy. I broke my wrist twice from biking, going over the handlebars. I fucked up like my collarbone going over the handlebars, and I got very lucky, by just fucking up my wrists and my shoulder blades when if you hit your head, and maybe I'm in a coma for 5 months. So yeah, I wouldn't have called it God maybe last time we were here, but I'm a firm believer in God, and I'm a firm believer in the power of prayer, and I pray to many things, not just God. I pray to the universe and my ancestors and spirits and stuff. So it's I'm also have this idea. I'm switching right from being a cyclist, not wearing a helmet, talking about traffic, but I'll bring it back. Trust me. To believing that there's a plan and a path for all of us, and if you do the right things in a habitual way, the path will really unfold for you. Like for a while, I knew I was going to be successful in certain areas of my life, but I didn't know how I was going to get there because there were so many steps ahead of it for me to like really believe in it. But I really believe in it now because of how I react to traffic, or how I deal with stuff, or how I have I love cooking and making stuff. I make a beautiful coffee every morning that has ashwagandha and maca and cacao and lion's mane mushroom and butter. It's like a variation of the bulletproof coffees that they make out here that I had at Nirvana, where they did MCT oil with coconut, but I'm not a vegan, so I'm gonna have butter. But don't worry, it's grass-fed butter from New Zealand, the good stuff. So that's almost like a meal for me. But that meditation, even though it's not necessarily cooking, it's a preparation, and there's everything I do now. It's like with intention. So there's some people like my dad and my sister who can't handle coffee anymore, and they drink matcha. I think matcha tastes like grass, so I love coffee, but I make it in a way where it's almost like a meal. And some days I'm busy and I only have 2 meals a day, and do that intermittent fasting from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll try to eat in that window. I think you talked about that as well. You just go hard and you eat on the Jabri podcast. And so yeah, there's that intention of, this is going to give me energy, but I'm also putting stuff into it that is calming, like ashwagandha and maca, and I'm going to put stuff in it like lion's mane, dried mushrooms, or cacao and stuff, and I make it, in a way where it is, to me, sacred. And I love that, and I love cooking, and my dad's visiting me here, which is beautiful, and I'm busy. I'm catching up on a lot of work, which I'll get to later, but he was like, no, don't worry, I'll cook this. I'm like, no, I want to cook this because this is like my meditation. I like to be intentional with how I cook and how I prep, and I'm obsessed with time. I love watches, and so money's time, time is money. This is why one of the reasons I don't drink anymore. I think I wasted too much of my life drinking, and I'm just trying to get it back. I'm just trying to get the time I lost back. And so I love cooking that way. I've always loved math. I love photography and video in that way because there's math in that. There's fractions with shutter speed and f-stop. People don't know that actually an f-stop is a fraction, but no one says it with a fraction. And so, it's not algebra or like calculus, but there's math involved in certain things, and there's math involved in time. And so cooking to me, when I'm a little overwhelmed or stressed, like that gives me something. I like to say I should meditate more, but like going to the sauna or the ice bath or cooking is meditation for me, and it's an intentional act that I do because it gives me something, which is either life or a little bit of love or intention. And I pray over my food, and I pray over my water and stuff. Like I'm obsessed with this study that was done back in the day with this Japanese scientist, and I have like such a crazy memory. I don't remember what I did 2 days ago, but I'm really good at my calendar, so I can look back and know what I did 2 days ago, but I can remember shit from like so long ago, and I impress my parents with this all the time. And so I remember my mom telling me about this like Japanese study with this scientist who did microscopic photographs of water when it was said words of affirmation or love, and it looks like a snowflake, it looks like a mandala, and like if you say stuff with negative or mean to water, it looks disgusting, like slime or gunk or something not pretty. And so we are over 60% water. So if I'm going to put something into here, I'm going to say, I love you, I love you, I love you to the water, because I love myself and I love water. Water is life, and it's just, you just bring intention to everything you do. And I'll pray over my food, and luckily I live in Bali, so there's a lot of other people who do this and don't think I'm crazy. But I don't mind being labeled crazy, because those people aren't on my wavelength yet, or whatever. And so bringing it back to traffic and craziness and being reactive, it's just, and learning to graduate from certain lessons that life is going to keep feeding you until you react it properly. It's just the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, just being like, can you deal with this the right way finally? Or like maybe in a nicer way, because I believe God is very forgiving and loving, and the universe is too. So, we can start over again. We can, like I said, I was an angry person in New York, but I can be, I can take everything as a lesson of how to deal with it. And I still kind of get upset in traffic now and then, but I try to come in the thought of, well, other people aren't as aware. People are texting and driving, or people are, looking at maps, or getting another Gojek or Grab order, or maybe they're in a rush to the hospital to see a loved one. So it's okay, it's okay to.
Well, there's a lot to unpick from there. I love, first of all, just finding joy in the small things in life. I know certainly in my journey, it was always like looking for the highs and looking for all this external stuff that's going to bring us a certain feeling. But even a simple practice like your coffee, and finding a sense of, like joy in that, and excitement over that. And this has been a big thing in my journey as well. It's really sort of finding that joy in the small things. It's the small things in life. And again, it's that sort of perspective of, okay, life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, they'll keep on teaching you the same lessons over and over until you get that realization, okay, something needs to change here. Something I can really relate even recently in terms of sort of, burnout and all these different things happening, and stress. And it's like, hang on, why am I forcing something? Clearly something is not in alignment here. Something needs to change. And then it all builds up, and then eventually you might have this breakdown, or you might have this big moment. But then after that, it's like, whoa, okay, cool. Now I can finally surrender to it, because I wasn't going to surrender before. I think a lot of our pain comes because we're resisting the change. We're resisting the signs. It's like, no.
Change is beautiful. It really is.
It absolutely. And I wanted to touch on
that's the one constant in life too.
Absolutely. And this is why, for a lot of guys, it's about, okay, I want to find my purpose. I want to find my thing. Chances are you might find your thing, but then life happens, and then you might have to shift again. So it's, by looking for that thing, chasing that thing, I think there's almost needs to be an acceptance of, hey, even if you do find that thing, it might not be the answer that you're looking for. And there's something, I think, deeper within all of these questions, right? And all of this sort of journey of self-discovery. What has shifted for you then? Because obviously there's been an event in your life recently where, okay, it's very easy, right? Very, very easy to go, oh, okay, cool, it's happening, life's happening for you, and these challenging moments, they're good for you, and it's a way to reinvent yourself or have a shift in perspective. It's very easy to say that, but when you're in the moment, it's not like that at all. It can be very overwhelming at times. So talk to me about I don't even think overwhelming really cuts it, but what event has happened to you recently that has just epitomized this whole...
Well, I'll go into the first spiritual part first, but the problem though was I stopped drinking for 7 years, and I started drinking on Christmas. 7's my lucky number, so I was like, I could probably jump back into this, and I was okay. There was weeks where I was just like maybe drinking once or twice a week, and then it only got worse and kind of spiraled in a negative way. And I was hanging around people like that, weren't serving me. But I was also going on this spiritual journey while I was like drinking. I started praying every day, and I had more belief in God than just the universe, or belief in spirits and ancestors more than just the universe, because but touching on change real quick too, it's like most of us are from the northern and southern hemisphere, so the reminder of seasons changing with the leaves in the winter is a beautiful thing, that there's that constant of change. We now live near the equator, so it's like the change isn't that drastic. We got the rainy season, we get the dry season. But I've talked to many people here, and I believe this wholeheartedly. There's like something with the chakras aligning, or something in this place in Bali where change happens really quick here, even though you don't see it with the seasons. And I always tell people this when I'm trying to like drip feed them my stories on Instagram, because I know they're fucking depressed in their shitty job in New York. Sorry, New York friends. But it's like, I'm drip feeding stuff on my stories to inspire, to be like, you have a choice. I never thought I would ever live in a foreign country ever. But that was a choice I made, to just stay in America for a long time. And I was depressed as fuck and angry in New York, and it wasn't serving me. I'm from the suburbs of New York, only like 45 minutes north of Manhattan, 35 minutes north of like Midtown. So it's like, I had nature in where I grew up, and I loved that. But I, thought that, I can blame Frank Sinatra for this, thinking like, okay, if you make it here, you can make it anywhere. And I lived there for 9 years, and I hated every second of it, pretty much. 2 toxic relationships, never getting ahead of myself. And then thank God to my more recent ex, she got me to come out to Bali. And so even though, we don't see eye to eye on everything, I can be so grateful for that lesson, and her pushing me to be like, let's live in Bali. And we said, give it 6 months, and we stayed 8, and she broke up with me, and I stayed here because I didn't want to go back to America. And that's a choice. You can all make a choice. And so you're choosing to live in America because you don't think you can make it any other way, or like, oh, I don't know, I came here with, I'm a freelancer my whole life. I've never had savings in my whole life. I came out here with $2,000, and I fucking made it work. So people who are afraid to do something, that's a choice. You're choosing to live in fear. You're choosing to, no, it's safer here, or like, I got this, I have all these friends. I thought I had a shit ton of friends in New York. Feel like I have more friends in Bali, and I've lived here almost 2 years, and I've lived there for 9. So that's its own crazy choice. But going back to what happened before this crazy incident, was that spiritual journey where, I was pretty broke and down and out, but I was being intentional with who I worked with. I was being intentional with the clients or people I collabed on with. And that was such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing where, it's an energy exchange when you work with somebody. And I've worked with clients that try to lowball me and try to work for the cheapest, and they're the most annoying clients to work with. They demand the world, and they want to pay you the least amount, and that is an energy suck. And then you're spending all this hours to do this or fix that or do a 3rd round of notes, but then I'm like, no, in my contract I said it's only including 2 rounds of notes. I have to charge you for this now.
But then I wonder if that initial, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this, right? When they first start breaking out, there's going to be a lot of limiting beliefs there and a sense of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So naturally, you're going to just get any chance you can get to get clients on board, and that might mean underpricing yourself. And I think that is tied to a low sense of self-worth. It's only when you increase your sense of self-worth, you're like, actually, no, you get a sense of energy, and you're like, actually, no, it's not even just time or your skills that you're giving to people, it's your energy. And when you realize that people aren't up to that, you've got enough standards now to then go, hey, this isn't serving me. This isn't up to my standard. And I think that's very empowering to get that.
And I really believe in myself, and you can attest to this, is I'm a really good salesperson. But I believe in what I can do and what I can offer. I will be at the spa or like at the recovery ice bath sauna, and like I said, I'm obsessed with watches and time, and I will recognize that Rolex, and I'll start a conversation, and next thing you know, we want to do headshots together or something because we just had a conversation. And there's a beautiful lesson too. Like my dad and sister are both bass players, and they taught me that, like, a lot of people can do exactly what they do, but are you fun to hang out with when you're going on tour for 6 months? Are you fun to hang out with and grab a beer or dinner after the show when you've been working all day and playing this and all this stuff? Like, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people can do what I do, because I think I definitely have niched down enough in a way where I do offer both video and photos, and this is a beautiful thing where I feel appreciated for this startup I'm working for, where I will be chief, or I am still, I guess not, I'm chief content officer, and that's a beautiful thing. I always felt guilty for not choosing photo or video or doing this or that. I love to work with people, so I'm trying to limit, like, or in the past I try to limit like villa work, because like that doesn't speak to me as much. Like I want to work with people, and I want to take them from here to there, and my services is that bridge. And I learned that from a really close friend of mine, of like productizing your services, and it's not an hourly based thing, it's a results based thing, and you're going to get this and I'm going to charge you that. It doesn't matter how many hours I charge, or how many hours I'm working. I am going to get you here, and that's what that package is, and that's what you're going to pay, and that's what it is. So after we had our first podcast, I was just in a place of like, not the best place financially, but I was on this path of gratitude, and so grateful for my life, even though I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I had hope, and the steps finally were kind of laid out for me, where I knew where I was going to be in at least 6 months. Everyone, like, when you take a job interview, you're like, oh, where do you see yourself in a year? This was like, I know where I'm going to be in a year, but I didn't maybe a year ago, but I know maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I know where I'm going to be in a year. And that's a beautiful thing to know. And I just have no time to waste, so I know what I need to do every day. Sometimes I don't get the best sleep or enough sleep, but I learned this from an investor. When I had an investor meeting, my pitch to the investor was literally my life story. I literally started off talking about my parents and how they were intentional about where they raised me. My sister was born in the city, but my parents, we moved to a town that was very artistic when I was 5 years old, and I just laid it all out. This is my background. And so the pitch was long, but it was over lunch, and my pitch was my life story, and everything I went through was where I was now and why I want to develop this product or something. And so I had to start from like everything, because I have this idea that every part of my life, or every job that I had, or every experience I had, brought me to this point. And that's a beautiful thing to know, that I'm almost kind of getting chills and goosebumps. Those people who know me, it's something I get consistently with music, and I've only met one other person who gets chills consistently from music, and he's comes from a lineage of mediums in his family. So it's when I asked God and the universe to show me, let me meet somebody, when I started finally praying consistently, I want to meet somebody who's similar to me, because I don't want to feel like the black sheep or somebody who's weird for this, even though it's not like bad weird. It's just, I thought it was super cool that just by praying, I fucking manifested. I met somebody who's an amazing person, where I feel like a brother, even though we've only known each other a few months and only hung out a few times, but we've gotten deep. Like, I don't want to talk about the weather, and I don't want to talk about boring shit. I want to talk about deep shit, and I want to connect on a deeper level with anybody. It doesn't matter if I just meet you at a networking event, or through a friend at a friend's going away dinner when people leave Bali. Like, I just love to dive in. So, a couple months ago, I started praying every day, and it came from a place of just gratitude, even though I, was worried about finances and feeling, like I'm doing a lot, but I'm not getting a lot in return. But I knew things were going to catch up. That's the one thing, like, I love, is that, my values and my morals should trump my bank account. And there's like, that can always catch up. That can change. But like, who I am as a person is, and how I talk and how I treat other people and what I'm interested in, and my hobbies and my likes and my interests and my habits, that's more important than finances, because that can always change. Who I am at a core is a beautiful way to connect with people.
That's a wicked way of just navigating life, I think, because the external stuff's always going to come and go. I was talking to someone recently, you know, it's like, especially as an entrepreneur, 1 minute you can have 35 grand, the next minute you can be down to 20 pounds. And all of that stuff's going to fluctuate. But I think, can you go to bed knowing that you've been a good person? Or, you know, if you've gone to bed and, okay, do you know what? I've had a really bad business day, but you know what? I showed kindness to someone today. I made a difference in someone's life. Or, you know what? I really wanted to get this shit out of me. I really wanted to lash out at this person. I don't know, someone got your food order wrong or someone cut you off, and you could have made the situation worse, but instead you alchemized it, and instead of putting negativity into the world, actually, yeah, you've managed to control your emotions perhaps, or you've acted in integrity to yourself. And I think if you've got a great character, that's going to carry you a lot further than what you can present to people on a financial spreadsheet.
Exactly. And that, like, yeah, a few months ago after our podcast, like I said, I wasn't in the best financial place, but I met a friend who stayed at my villa and we became very close. We had so many similarities, and we're like, you know, a 13-year age difference. And I was like so blown away that we could connect on so many levels, being from different countries, different cultures, but we love the same music. We had like a dozen more similarities, and I feel like she's like a little sister to me. Like that's a beautiful thing that I've stepped into too, being like, you know, by the time this comes out, I'll be 35, you know, this podcast. So I love stepping into like a mentorship role for people. It's beautiful. Like, you know, kindness is free, knowledge is free to give, but it's just like, I'm not going to, you know, if it's a client, I'm going to like drip feed them, you know, once they get me, you know, a rate or something. But like for a friend, like I will be an open ear and listen to your issues. Everything I've been through lets me be able to relate to somebody who might have a father who's an addict. Because I've friends who are former heroin addicts, and they have been a beautiful step. And it's, you know, going back to like, you know, substances, it's like people who do that, you're just escaping your own reality. You can't deal with life without that. And so that's why I kind of stopped drinking again around Yippee, actually. And I love the culture here, and I took, you know, what that holiday means is like a purge. You know, you attract the bad spirits, and then you just pretend you're not here, and then they all go away. If you know the story of Yippee, it's really beautiful. And so around then and around Easter, it was just like this like explosion of like, no, this shit is real. This, like, you know, it's funny, and I made a story about this on Instagram. Like, people, like, you know, you can claim you're like spiritual on these dating apps now, or you can claim you're like, you know, it's Christian or this. But it's like so many people claim they're spiritual, but they don't. They just have like a few like stones and like amethysts and stuff, and that's it. But like, if you're spiritual, you got to do the work.
It's spiritual bypassing, right?
And that's why I don't like Ubud. There's too many toxic spiritual people, and people think it's so beautiful there. Sure, I could do a weekend there, but like, there's so many people who think they're like all made it, but you think you leave America and you're like, oh, there's no toxic people or scammers or negative people. No, they're fucking everywhere, and that's relates to the incident that we'll get to soon.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time, like you were saying, it's very easy to go, oh no, life's good, everything's fine. But then, yeah, you see it all the time. People don't like this toxic positivity, right? People who don't even have any concept of spirituality, they see that, and it's like, hang on, is that really real? I think people can see through that, and this is why a lot of the time, what I resonate with is grounded spirituality. Okay, cool. You've done the work. You've actually felt these emotions. Mm-hmm. You've reached. You can call it enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, but then, okay, have you returned back for your life as a human, right? Because, hey, after this human life, we're going to go on and then we'll be up there. But it's like, okay, right, hang on. What is your mission? What is your purpose on this earth? Can you make the world a better place, or are you staying in your own bubble? And this is something I think I've been through myself. I thought, okay, cool, I'm just going to detach myself from the earth. I don't resonate with my the environment back home anymore, my home country. I'm just going to go off and do my own thing. But then it's like, actually, no, hang on a sec. I need to help other people sort of gain a different perspective on life, or I need to, like, there's real world problems. And this is something that I've really been battling with myself. It's like, okay, because I always had the attitude like, okay, you know what the government's doing, and you know it's very easy to, I think, outsource our problems and direct our energy onto external things. So I always had that point of
Energy
view.
suck though. I don't watch the fucking news. Like it's just like they're making you upset to get you in a funk. And I've raised Democrat, but I'm so the fuck moderate, because they're both fucking suck.
But the point is, right, like I see beyond that illusion. I see it for what it is, like a distraction and polarization. But then I'm thinking, actually, there is some stuff happening behind the scenes that is affecting the world. So I'm really torn between protecting my peace and actually thinking, okay, now I understand why people feel compelled to make a difference, because I couldn't get it at first.
All you can do is affect the people around you, and the daily interactions you do every day. Smile at a stranger, or like smiling at people who you bike behind, like starting a conversation with somebody at the Circle K or the Mini Mart, or just if you can't speak Bahasa, just getting Google Translate out and just making their day a little bit, or making them laugh through just texting through a just a translator app. So yeah, that's all you can do, and that's what I was doing. Like after our first podcast, I helped out a friend who needed help with rent. I didn't have much to give, but I knew she would pay me back, and that was a beautiful thing, to just give when you don't think you have much to give, or like being there as a good listener for other friends, where you can just be an ear to them and let them vent. Or I was there for a friend who didn't process his father's death because the family was fighting over the money, and this happened 5 years ago, and he let everything out because he never properly grieved about his father. And and giving and volunteering at this kitchen, that's when it all just came together, where I was like, this shit is real, and I have people looking out for me, not just my family and friends, but like I have ancestors and spirits and angels even, and God and the universe looking out for me, because they know I'm a good person. I have a good heart. But I also believe in second chances, and I have been attracted to negative people because I believe there's a chance. There's a chance for them to turn it around. And when I was still drinking, I got involved with just a crew that I shouldn't have gotten involved with. And going to the incident, it was just this friend, or this person I knew through somebody, through a bar. I slowly started to trust him, and then it got to a point where maybe I revealed too much about myself, or talked too much, or just he did something to make me feel like I could trust him. And this incident happened where I was drugged, GHB, roofies, and I have so many receipts. So, if anyone wants more details, hit me up. I'll get lunch with you, but it's going to take an hour. I mean, we've already talked for a half hour and haven't really even dove into this part, but I have to give a little background to everything. So I'll brush over this in the most respectful and loving way that I can. Is that I thought this guy was somebody I could trust, but it was through friends who I met through alcohol. And alcohol, it's called a spirit for a reason. It gives you that, it changes you. Alcohol changes you.
Like alcohol is the devil, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy was the devil too, and I thought I could trust him, and he roofied me, and he took my phone and my notebook for over 2 hours. And I know this, even though I was fucked up on this, because my friends were waiting for me here, and they thought I was going to be back in 45 minutes, and I was back in like 2.5 hours. And they're like, where the fuck were you and shit? And, through this whole crazy identity theft thing, I was trying to figure out how to get my VPN back, and my iCloud back, and my Gmail back, and my Instagram back, and one of my bank accounts back. It was a beautiful lesson in the same way. I got to see, I made some scary posts on Instagram, and people were like freaking out, and some people still believe I made this shit up, but like, I got receipts, okay? I got fucking receipts. And it it was a beautiful lesson. All I was saying on Instagram was just like, this something happened, and I just need everyone to pray and give me positive vibes, and because I believe in that shit, and I got through it. It took me like a week to 10 days to kind of get back on my feet. My parents were even worried about me because I wasn't getting sleep. It's like, fucking, if this would have happened to anybody, they would have not get sleep either, because once you see that your iCloud is connected to like 7, 8 other devices that you don't recognize, that shit is fucking scary. And you're going on your VPN, but your VPN is even compromised, and you know that on Instagram you can delete messages without seeing that it's been deleted. But on WhatsApp, if you delete a message, it says like, this message was deleted, and this guy was, gaslighting me and identity theft. And there's, like I said, there's some friends who still don't believe me. Like, oh, your story doesn't add up. Like, I heard your watch got stolen, but I literally gave it to the ban jar to get out of that situation. I awoke from this guy's driveway, and next thing I know, I don't have my phone in my pocket. I don't have my glasses, and I'm not going to leave until I get my glasses and my phone back. And the ban jar came, and they were trying to like harass me, like, oh, you're fucked up, get it, you're making noise. And then I stayed there, and I was making noise until this fucking hacker gave me my glasses back and my phone back. And I did that because I don't care about material things. I have a nice watch because it's a good conversation starter. I have a nice watch, this Omega, because it's I love time. And when I had money back in the day, I bought a vintage Omega Seamaster, and I gave the vintage Omega gold plated Seamaster to the ban jar so they would fucking let me go. My fucking badass friend got it back from me, but he was like, he still doesn't believe all of this, but we'll catch up, and he'll when he wants to hear it and the wax is out of his ears, he'll listen. But it was a beautiful lesson that I could get out of something, because I don't have a lot of resources besides my friends and my family, but they can be beautiful resources. And I gave my watch away to get out of it, and some friends are like, well, you still have your glasses. Like, bitch, I have 3 pairs of glasses, okay? When I had money, I got 3 pairs of glasses. I have my prescription sunglasses, and I have these vintage, 70s pair, and I have a pair of Tom Fords. And I think they took the Tom Fords because they knew the brand and shit. So, I don't need material things. I just need my health and my equipment and to make money, and my laptop. And even my laptop was compromised because of iCloud, even though we didn't have my laptop. And I was able to get out of it with the power of just giving, and the ban jar let me go because I gave him my fucking Omega. My friend got it back from me. I still don't have my glasses, but I have these pairs, and I have my prescription sunglasses still, and I have my health, and it just showed me a beautiful, there's some people who haven't checked back in on me or whatever. That's totally fine. I'm very busy right now, catching up on a lot of work that I missed, of productivity of almost 2 weeks, 7 to 10 days. I was really out of it, and lack of sleep and all this shit. And even my parents were like, you have to go to this mental clinic. And I was like, I know they wanted me to feel safe, and I understand that. And I got a lot of sleep there, but that was part of me in my head. That was the worst thing that could happen to me, because they were going to put me on pharmaceuticals, and they were going to kind of watch my every move because I was deemed crazy. But like I said, like, if anyone went through this shit, they would react very similar to me. And so I know I'm not crazy, and I have receipts, and I got through this by, enough people knowing what kind of happened and understanding what happened was traumatic. I'm going to have trust issues for many years. But at the same time, it was a beautiful lesson to be like, okay, you got to be safe, a little safer about all your passwords. You got to be a little bit cautious about who you trust and what you reveal to people. You have to, keep your inner circle really tight. And I have a really beautiful inner circle of people who understand what happened and believe me. And that's all I need. And the people who think I still made it up or am exaggerating on something, that's fine. They'll come around, or they'll come back in my life when they're ready to hear the whole thing or the whole truth. And so I love where I'm at now. This has, been a little over 3 months since I stopped drinking. and I've been going to AA and doing, a lot of journaling. I've always done journaling and being very organized. Like my room is, well, not now when I come back from certain shoots, but like my room is like pretty immaculate, and I've never been a clean person. And everyone who I've met in Bali, even though they're not like the closest friends, there's a lesson I've always learned from somebody, which is beautiful. And like, there's this great guy, shout out to Tristan Social. He talks about how like he's a dating coach, and he does these Q&As on his Instagram. He's got 1 million followers. We met a while ago, another American. I love meeting Americans out here because he made the fucking commitment. It's fucking 30 plus hours door to door, 12-hour time difference. You get the Europeans and you get the Australians and stuff, but it's like, if you come from America, it's like fucking badass. Dude, that's a big leap of faith, and I'm underlining faith. And he taught, he had this Q&A where he's talking about questions his followers give him, and he just sits having a coffee and he just answers the questions. And he has this whole thing where it's like, this guy's like, well, what happens? Some people could think dating coaches are shallow, but he's fucking so on it, and I love him for this. But he, this one person was like, asking about what happens when somebody ghosts you or whatever, and he's just like, great, that's less time for resources that I have to spend on dinner for her, less time of mine to waste, like. And then, but also think of it the other way. Are you the best version of yourself that day? Did you wake up early? Did you meditate? Did you journal? Did you read a book? Did you go to the gym? If you didn't do all those fucking things, maybe that's part of the reason she ghosted you. But at the same time, he gives the other flip perception, like the flip perspective, like, you don't want somebody in your life who can't appreciate you or value you or see what you have to offer anyways. And I love that flip side. And he's like breaking people out of their fucking programmed thinking from childhood. We're all programmed in a way. And I think that's so cool that he can have that perspective, just like I can have this perspective of like, oh my God, this should happen to me. But I'm not going to be like, woe is me. I'm going to be like, this was a lesson to be a little cautious of who you trust. There's scammers fucking everywhere. There's hackers and toxic people everywhere, even in a beautiful place like Bali. But what lesson could that teach you? Okay, good. I'm fucking on it. I'm like so organized. My room's like the cleanest it's ever been. I'm journaling and emailing. I'm doing accounting. I've never fucking done accounting before. Like, I'm just on it in a whole nother way, because who else is gonna fucking do that but you? Like, unless you can hire this or hire that. But if you're in a place where you can't hire an assistant to do this, fucking take advantage of AI. Fucking take advantage of having a routine. Like Tristan said, journal and go to the gym and eat well and meditate and read a book. If you haven't done all that shit in a day and you're not stacking W's every fucking day, then shit's going to arise in your life where, it's going to set you off and you're going to give you a lesson. But even if you have all those wins, you're going to be so proud of yourself. You're just going to be glowing. Your aura is going to just be like, people are just going to be attracted to you and want to be around you. And that's manifestation at its highest level.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack.
Well, it's almost an hour. We gotta give the listeners some time to do whatever else they have to do today, like meditate and journal and read and go to the gym and eat well and be kind to people.
I wanted to touch upon a couple things there. First of all, yeah, I think it's also a big lesson that all these events that happen, no matter how overwhelming they can be in the moment, you can still take lessons from them. But then also knowing that these are all building up your character, right? They lead you into becoming the person that you are today. And I can see that from this experience. I also wanted to touch upon this idea of trust, right? Because I was always I had a trust wound, I think, from when I was younger. And for me, I remember reading The Untethered Soul, a great book if you want to dive into spirituality and really understand the concepts of the ego and thoughts. And yeah, brilliant book. But a big part of that was that we use our past experiences to project onto our future, right? And that stops us from gaining all these amazing connections, right? The reason why, again, you were talking about all these great connections you've made is because you've opened your heart and you've learned to be vulnerable and authentic. But then you can see that, right, sometimes you can let the wrong people in. Now, I think what's happened in your situation, feel free to correct me, but the alcohol there, it's almost inhibited your intuition and your energy, and suddenly this great energy that you've been emitting and working on, you've suppressed that, and that means that you're going to let the wrong people in. And this is what happens, at the beginning of your growth journey. When you stop having alcohol, stop drinking alcohol, suddenly you realize, oh, actually, you get feel of the other person's energy. You realize you don't actually have that much common in them, and then you're like, okay, actually, we're actually quite different. Perhaps this isn't the right connection for me. So in your incident, perhaps it was a lesson there that, okay,
It's all a lesson.
hey, I've been using or drinking alcohol, and then you can almost tie that to, right, meeting this person and lowering down your guard, which again, in the future, it might inhibit you from making great connections then. But then it's also a lesson of, okay, cool, I know you can start drawing correlations. Okay, cool, I know that, right, if I entertain, we called alcohol the devil before, but if you entertain these habits, knowing that, hey, they could have a knock-on effect. And I've noticed that in my own life. You're talking about not doing the stuff that you say you're going to do. Sometimes it can be, okay, you've perhaps woken up later, which meant you didn't get to do this thing, which then led to, I remember in some of my experiences where, okay, because I haven't woken up at the time I said I was going to get up, and then I haven't done my meditation, which meant I haven't been in a clearer frame of mind when an opportunity has come up. And perhaps you can go, I don't know about too deep, but you can overanalyze this stuff. But I think just being wary of the sort of different, like synchronicities that happen and why they lead up to where you are today. So how did you go about that then? So you had all this stuff happening, you weren't sleeping. I know people were calling you crazy, but you must have felt crazy, understandably so. So how did you ground yourself from then? Like, what were the immediate thoughts going in your mind? Obviously now we can look at it as this almost like a life-defining moment or another lesson, but during this time, how are you dealing with this stuff? Like, what's going through your head?
With all this going on and, feeling like I was actually maybe crazy or, being gaslit and dealing with this identity theft and drugging, how did I get through that first week of all that mindset-wise?
I think so. Just like your thoughts and the
Well, I was very aware that I could come off as crazy. I just had to have awareness, and I had to be very selective of who I talked to while I was still recovering Gmail or Instagram and WhatsApp and all this shit. So I would just, even though I wasn't getting sleep because I felt like I had to text or call people in LA that they could help me with this time, thank God I have friends all over the world. Like, I could text people to help me do this while I finally got some sleep, and I could text some people in New York or other places while the time I just knew what I needed to do for some reason. And it came from that intention. And I was just like, okay, and I was making lists. I was like, this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. And when I was in the mental clinic, it sucked because I didn't have my phone, and all I did was befriend the other person who was deemed crazy. And I am a firm believer of anyone who's called crazy or deemed crazy, I'd rather dive in deeper than just put a label on it. Just like some people like to label, Trump supporters like, oh, well, they're all racist or homophobic or sexist. No, well, if over 50% of the country voted for him, they can't all be that. Like, I want to dive deeper. And so I don't think Kanye is crazy, or I don't think, there's a lot of people who are deemed crazy that I would rather figure out on my own and make my own assessment on it. And when I have new information, I will change my opinion. And a lot of people are very rigid in their thinking. So I was very aware that I could come off as crazy. So I was very cautious and just proved to the fucking mental clinic that I wasn't. And I was very kind to them. And I'd have conversations with them while they were fucking drugging me with pharmaceuticals that were making me sluggish and retarded and lazy. And if you feel like judging me for saying the R word, sure, that's fine. But I love that word. It's a really fun word to say. I mean, if we're going to change that word to mentally challenged, now people are going to use that word as a insult then. So whatever you fucking change, it's going to be something. So let's just not judge, and let's come from come back to what is the intention.
Well, that's something, just to briefly touch upon that I fundamentally disagree with in a lot of sort of mental health institutions and at school as well, like labeling kids as, okay, you have this problem. Mm-hmm. Oh, right, you've got ADHD, you be with that group, it's like, and what does that do? From an adult rational mind, you can say, okay, cool. I mean, I use ADHD as an example because it's come up in conversations recently, right? And I was talking to people, okay, you know what, yeah, like I see it as a superpower, and with the adult rational mind, with the right belief system, you can go, okay, cool, I understand that, let's use it to my advantage. But as a kid, you're being labeled that, okay, right, there's something wrong with you. That's something I think which needs addressing generally, and I completely resonate with this sort of crazy idea. I know, back then they used to call them witches because they would think differently, right? They were, I know I've heard that they were almost like enlightened and they had these different ideas on the world. And I know that they were often punished and burned at the stake because they had all these different ideas. And
it's too out there, and that wasn't safe for society, or that specific society. And yeah, I totally agree. And so it was that thinking, and then my dad came out earlier to Bali to help me out, and we've gotten really close, and I love that, to just be able to tell everything and the journey from, February or March to where I'm at now. And so you just needed to have a support system of enough people believing you, enough people praying for you and giving you positive thoughts and affirmations and stuff, and then just being very cautious of my words and choosing words. And like I kind of just had to drip feed it to the right people. Some people wanted. I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell people what they need to hear at the time. And I'm totally fine to open up a little bit more later on. But if I say something to somebody, I am going to be very cautious of how they're going to receive it. And so I'm not going to say, that's why I'm telling anybody who wants more of the whole scoop, like, let's have an hour and a half lunch, and we can go through it. But it's going to take some time because it's not a short story. And that's why I appreciate you having me as a long form podcast to explain everything, because I know I scared a lot of people with my Instagram posts. I scared a lot of people with thinking I was manic and not getting sleep. So you're having an episode or this. It's like, well, okay, but let's think about what actually would happen to me. Because like I said, what I went through, anyone would go similarly through what I went through. You wouldn't be able to sleep because you're like, how the fuck am I going to recover? iCloud, Gmail, WhatsApp, Instagram, my bank accounts, a lot of my passwords, all within 24, 48, 72 hours. That's just not possible as a one-man show. You need help and support. And so I got help and support, and I was very cautious of what I was saying to people because I knew some people would still label me. I mean, I lost clients and stuff, and so it's, it was pretty freaking scary. But I'm in a really good place now, and it was just a beautiful lesson. And I've always been happy in Bali, but I've never been this happy in Bali because I know what's about to happen, and I'm very intuitive, and I'm very intentional, and I'm very grateful, and I love life, and I love what is going to be set out for me because I know the steps in my future.
Yeah, I love your sort of forward-thinking approach. I think a lot of the time when these tough challenges happen to us, we can get stuck in the past and ruminate on it and fall into this victim mentality, why me? But I just love how you've seen it as a lesson and you're forward-thinking and you use it and think, okay, cool, how can I use this as an experience to, push on and create the life that I want to live? So I think you're a real inspiration for that. And it's during these challenging, dark moments where you realize who your true friends are, right? And that is only when you go through those. And then that's a blessing in and of itself, right? Because then you realize, and this is what I mean, I think, right, okay, there's all this external stuff, but at the core, all we want is connection, right? And it's like, right, when you remove all this stuff, what's important? And it's, right, okay, you've got friends, your loved ones, and no doubt in my mind that this was a big, almost like, I know you've already been on a spiritual journey yourself, but it's another sort of wake-up call in a way. It's like, okay, right, does any of this stuff really matter when I've got all these lovely people around me? So I think so many lessons to learn from your story. And obviously you've got sort of the part one as well. If people want to sort of dive into that and you haven't checked it out already, definitely check it out, because so many wicked perspectives. And I just love the sort of lessons that you've had and taken on board. And I think there are qualities in yourself that I really appreciate as well. I love how you say it how it is. I love how you're very authentic and
from New York, baby. Blunt, but aware.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I remember, when we first met, I remember getting this text from you. It's like, mate, your reels need work. your reels are pretty shit. And I remember looking at that and I think, wow, you know what? I actually really appreciate how direct this is. And it's like, if you surround yourself by yes men all the time, if you surround yourself by yes men, man, they're not going to tell you how it is. And how are you going to improve your product or service? So it really got me thinking. It's like, actually, yeah, you know what? I need more of that in my life. You know, and you need people to sort of tell you how it is. And I think this whole episode, if I were to take, I mean, there's so many lessons regarding the perspective of life, but it's like, hey, you know, find yourself some real good friends. And yeah, I think there's many ways you can do that based on this conversation. Yeah, it's tune into your energy and really pay attention to what people are doing and saying to you and the love that they're giving you, right? And take note of anything that's getting in the way of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much for sort of sharing your recent story and just your perspectives.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to give you the exclusive scoop. What's this last question I hear we always do?
Yeah, well, the first two are routine. We touched upon that last time. It was a song recommendation and a book recommendation.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So yeah, we've got that from last time, which is awesome. And the third question is usually asked from a member of the Growth Voyage community, one of our listeners of the show. And we're very fortunate today that we've got a very new listener of the podcast who's left you a question. And it comes from none other than your father, Wil Adamy, and he asks you, where would you like to be in 5 years?
At the mountaintop, baby. I'll leave it at that. And there might be a little dip in the valley, but there's another peak ahead.
And I think on that note, you can never really predict what life has in store for you. I think we'll have an idea of where we want to go in life, but ultimately, you might get there, you might not, but even when you get there, it's not going to be through the route that you thought it would be, right? It's going to take you through trials and tribulations, and that's the beauty of life, right? So, yeah, lovely message. Thank you.
Thanks so much.